Hi, welcome to Madras Academy. In this session, we are going to learn about Django. First, what is Django? Django is a high-level web application framework. It is created in Python programming language. It is a dynamic content web page. In web page, we have two types. One is static content, another one is dynamic content. Static content means normal web page. Using HTML and CSS, we can design, and whatever the informations we are having there, we can able to see that information. Okay, but if it is a dynamic content web page, we can pass the request, we'll receive the response immediately, and we can communicate with your database also. Okay, and this kind of web pages is called as a dynamic content web page. For example, online banking, online shopping, these are all the dynamic content web page. It used to create the application in rapid development and clean design. It is free and it is a open source. The principle of Django application is dry. That is, don't repeat yourself. That means the framework aims to reduce the code and make it more efficient and easy to maintain. This is the principle for the Django application. It is a MVT framework. It is not a MVC framework. It is a MVT framework. That means M stands for model, V stands for view, T stands for template. Okay, like this application will execute. Okay, and what is this MVT? We'll see the MVT architectures. See, I'm having one user. Whenever the user is passing the request, this request will not directly communicate with your database. Okay, so we are having some intermediate process. Okay, similarly in Django, whenever the user is passing the request, user need to pass the request by the browser by the help of URL only, right? So user make the request by hitting the URL. Whenever the URL is hit in a browser, immediately it will call the view logic. Okay, view logic is nothing but MVT. I already told you, no, this view only, this one. Okay, it contain all the customer logic and it connect to the template and the model. Okay, view only is responsible to communicate with the template and as well as model. Okay, see, in this template I am having three pages. One is home page, about page, registered page. Okay, and as well as here, when the client is passing the request to view the home page now, they have to give the home page URL, right? So immediately this view will get the request from the URL, and whatever the response we need to give, this template page will automatically display to the user. In the same way, about page also will display. Okay, if the user is asking the registration page URL, no, this registration page will display to the user, and in registration page what they can do, they can register the details, right? So they are entering the name, email ID, mobile number, everything. So once I click the submit button, we need to store the value to the database. Okay, So in that time, after view the register page, when I click the submit button, we need to store the value to the database. In that time, immediately this view will call the model. And now the model is responsible to communicate with the database. And here we are having a ORM, that is object relational mapping. Okay, this is the person is going to communicate with the database, and template will not directly communicate with the database, and view will also not directly communicate with the database. Okay, so this view is calling the model to communicate with the database. Okay, and it is responsible to provide the data to the view. Okay, and then the view is sending the data to the template. Okay, so whether the registration process is done successfully. Okay, so this model will send the data successfully registered, like that, any other message, or we are going to redirect to the login page. After registration, we need to redirect to the login page. Now that response, whatever we return inside this view, that will execute. Okay, so like this way, this model view template, this logic will work. Okay, in Django application. Now you understand the concept, what is MVT architecture. Okay, next, in Django we have some ready-made component such as admin interface. Okay, once you execute that page, okay, create super user, registration form is completed in your command prompt now. While we running the Django application, defaultly we will get one login form, admin login form. Okay, and using that admin login form, if you log into the website, okay, and there we can able to see the user table also, and you can store the user information, and for that user you can give the authentication and authorization permissions also. Okay, this kind of applications we are not created, Django will automatically create it. Okay, only 4 to 5 commands we need to write, only the command we need to write. Okay, this process and all will automatically generated by the Django application. And if we need to create our own applications also, we can create it. Okay, so how to develop that application, we'll see that. And it is easy to communicate with the database, and it is fully functional framework. It has thousands of additional packages, and what are the packages we need to install, everything we'll see that. And while we creating the project, in that time most of the packages will install, and if we need any other additional packages, we have to install it separately. That I will tell you in a practical session. Okay, next, while we creating the Django application, before that we have to learn some basic concept. Okay, so in core Java we have to understand about the functions, handling variables, about classes and object, and inheritance. These are all the topics we have to learn in a basics of core Java, and as well as basics of web designing, how to create the HTML5 forms. Okay, how to add the CSS and the bootstrap theme in our HTML page. Okay, and these are all the concepts we have to learn before itself. Okay, so in this session we will cover the HTML5 and bootstrap theme, and using that front end application, how to communicate with your database, everything we'll see that. Okay, and we will create one online banking application. Like that, we will take any one of the topic, based upon that we will create the applications here. Okay, thanks for watching.